Meanwhile, gentlemen, the Suns pulled away late to beat the Sixers 114-104. Devin Booker had 35 points. Joel Embiid had 37 points, 15 rebounds, but the better team was the Suns. Phoenix extending their win streak to 8. Philly now 4th in the East. Perk, who has more at stake come playoff time? Is it Brooklyn or Philly?
Well, Molly, when you think of Brooklyn, right, you think of two people, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant.
Absolutely.
And when you think of Philly, you think of James Harden and Joel Embiid. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant both already have championships. They won their rings. So when you think about the 76ers, Joel Embiid, and especially James Harden, are trying to accomplish what Kyrie and KD already have. So I have to go with the 76ers for the simple fact that we're watching James Harden right now. And to me, I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to see a James Harden that could go out there and consistently get you 25 to 30 points a night. I think his game is slowly on the decline. I'm not counting him out just yet, but look, he left the Brooklyn Nets to go to Philly, to go team up with Joel Embiid to win a championship. So with both of those guys starving for a ring, it's the Philadelphia 76ers that have more at stake. And then again, guess what? James Harden is a free agent after this season. So if things don't work out, we have witnessed over the past 2 years that James Harden don't have a problem with leaving.
No, I hear you, Perk, but here's where I'm going to disagree with you. So when I look at Brooklyn, I say to myself, this was put together 2 years ago, and the very day that they paired up Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, this team was supposed to have getting ready for their second championship by now. It's a very good chance they get bounced in the play-in, or at best case, they lose a first-round series this year. That's going to be 2 consecutive seasons. They're not even close to that goal. When I look at Philadelphia, going into the season, this was not a championship contender with Ben Simmons. They certainly weren't without him because they didn't replace him with anything. So, okay, they go get James Harden, and I understand what you're saying. Neither one of their 2 stars have checked that box yet. So I get it. There is a sense of urgency that they want to go ahead and get that done. But at the same time, James Harden joined the team, with 2/3 of the season already gone. He is not the same player that he was in Houston. And it's obvious physically when you watch him, his inability to win that matchup in front of him and beat that first defender and put him in his rearview mirror, which is really what his entire game is predicated on. That's not quite the same. And I saw some numbers this morning that were great. His blow-by rate has dropped down to mediocre level by NBA standards, where he was in the 90th percentile of winning that matchup. So your point about what he looks like is valid. I'm just saying they haven't been together that long, and he is not the same player. So I just don't think it's quite as fair to put those level of expectations on those guys after being together such a short time, when you look at what Brooklyn did 2 years ago, and they might be 2 years in, not even coming close to that goal.
No, but Legs, see, that's to me, I think James Harden is the reason why the expectations for Philly has to be high for the Nets, and they have more at stake because of what James Harden has done over the past 2 years, forcing his way out of Houston, going to Brooklyn, preaching about scary hours, and then all of a sudden you choose to leave Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and say, I want to go to Philly. I want to go to Philly. James Harden, the only thing he has left to accomplish is actually winning the championship. That's the only thing he actually really needs to accomplish. He has stacked up every individual accolade you possibly could imagine offensively. Not no defensive player accolades. I'm talking about on the offensive end. But when you look at it, he is the one, right? He's almost out of his prime. He knows he needs to win a championship. And when you choose to leave Kevin Durant, who's arguably the best basketball player in the game today, and go to Philly, force your way out? Nah, I gotta say he has the most at stake along with the Philadelphia 76ers.
Look, I think there's two different points being made. And I think you're dead right on the James Harden one, because I think when you look at the 4 players we're talking about, the 4 stars involved in these 2 teams, there is no question that James Harden still has the most to prove. Because you look at what he did in Houston, and he ran an offense that was unprecedented. In NBA history, there's never been an offense that was that ball dominant with one player. The way that he orchestrated things in Houston, year after year after year, good teams had a chance, came up short, whether it was his own play or injuries or teammates' injuries, whatever it was, they always came up short. So nobody has more pressure amongst the four than James Harden. But when you talk about the team, I got to still stick with Brooklyn because everybody expected the day that those three guys came together. I know James Harden's not there anymore, but I'm talking about the grand plan that was hatched with that organization, bringing in Steve Nash, getting these three guys to play together. They thought they're going to be working on their second parade route. They haven't come close to that. Now, injuries have played a part, but that doesn't matter. NBA doesn't care. There's no sympathy for teams that get hurt. For me, the fact that they could be 2 years into this and they have not even reached a final, which is probably not going to happen this year with the way they play defense, to me, that's the bigger disappointment than Philadelphia potentially not getting there right now with Joel Embiid and a James Harden that is a reduced version, clearly, of what he was in Houston.